Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming today. A vibrant middle class once made Toronto a destination, an opportunity for so many generations before us. Our city used to be a place where you could come to find a good job, and a place where you could build a life, where you could start a family. A place where if you put in a hard day's work, you could afford to pay your rent, put food on the table, and save a little more for the future while you're at it. But today's Toronto is much different. Our middle class is shrinking in Toronto, and in many ways, it is in real danger of disappearing altogether. Every day, Torontonians are squeezed at both ends. From one side, by the erosion in good middle-class jobs, and from the other, by a rising cost of living that's rising faster than incomes in this city. And as each year goes by, Toronto continues to shift from a city of neighborhoods to a series of islands divided by income. When our middle class goes, so does our competitive advantage. And when young people are left with little hope to build a future here, we know they turn to violent paths or they leave. But there's tremendous opportunity ahead. We're standing here today on the future site of the waterfront LRT as I've proposed in my transit network plan. And if you look around in any direction, you'll see there are cranes overhead. We have no shortage of projects underway. And with all that dynamic growth, we can ensure that our young people can be a part of this dynamic building boom. We can move on from economic policies of the last decade and ensure that our city is a city of neighborhoods where middle-class families can thrive, where they can live, where they can work, where we can raise our families. We can have a dramatic change in direction. We can put years of dithering and delay behind us to make sure that Toronto is a city that's more fair, more affordable, and more safe. It's time to try something different. That's why, as mayor, I'm pledging to make community benefits agreements mandatory for any major public infrastructure project that the city funds. With the city's capital budget, including projects totaling more than $25 billion, that could mean 12,000 jobs for local workers. And I will also amend the rules around the development process to allow the city to negotiate approvals that will result in thousands of jobs for youth and other underemployed groups, as well as other negotiated community benefits. Under my plan, we will work with communities and will include a formal community monitoring and reporting mechanism to assure that the agreed upon benefits are followed through by our private sector partners. This won't be job creation that communities have to fight and fight and fight for, like the 10-year fight that we recently saw in Rexdale. This should be part of the preconditions for building in our city. You invest here, you invest in our communities. When you spend billions of dollars on major infrastructure projects, local workers will share in that prosperity. And together, we will build our workforce for the future, harnessing for everyone the opportunity that our city holds. That means fewer families struggling to keep their heads above water. It means offering economic hope for everyone, for our young people, where none existed, and a pathway away from violence. And it means building a strong Toronto on the foundation of a strong middle class. I'm happy to take your questions.
Add more layers of bureaucracy and conditions on the private sector and make them less likely to invest or make it more difficult to actually get these projects off the ground?
I'm so glad you asked that question, Jeff, because as chief planner, we added, for example, Toronto green standards that required green roofs on buildings, and that's exactly what we heard from the industry. We heard that if we made those kinds of requirements, if we required developers to make their projects better, that they would go away and they wouldn't build in our city. So let's look around us. We're in the middle of a massive building boom. Our city has so many desirable quality of life opportunities that it presents that we know it's not too much to ask industry to be contributing to sharing the prosperity with the people who live here by ensuring that local jobs are provided as a result of the building boom that we see today. We know that that's not an issue. It wasn't an issue in the past. All we need to do as a city is to lead. As a city, we need to ask that that prosperity is shared with the people who live in this city. These jobs are being created regardless. Community benefits agreements are about ensuring that the neighborhoods that are adjacent to new projects and new development are benefiting from that new development in the city. It's significantly different from what's happening right now. I'm proposing here that we make community benefits agreements mandatory, in particular for all city capital spending. So we have a $26 billion 10-year capital plan. Right now, there's no commitment to ensuring that local jobs are created as a result of that capital expenditure. So what I'm proposing here is that we put community benefits agreements in place as a city policy. Now, the good news is we're not reinventing the wheel. This has been done in LA, it's been done in Boston, it's been done in other cities, and the good news is we can do it here. It's just a choice. It's about leadership. It's about ensuring that the youth of our city and those who are currently underemployed have the opportunity to access jobs, to access training, to access mentoring that will ensure everyone in this city shares in the prosperity that our city is currently seeing. This is really about ensuring that every neighborhood in our city becomes a strong neighborhood. We know from the research that has been released over the course of the past 10 years and refined over the course of the past several months by David Helczynski at the University of Toronto that we're seeing increasing segregation in our city by income. That is a pattern that is accelerating. It is accelerated over the past 10 years. And we're seeing divides based on race, and we're seeing those divides based on income. Community benefits agreements that are mandatory as a result of money that the city is spending anyway is about ensuring that those who are currently not sharing in the prosperity that we see as a city begin to share in that prosperity. It's about reversing a trend which has a foothold currently in our city, and that trend is segregating our neighborhoods. No one in this city wants this. No one does. Well, let's take clear and decisive action that will set us on a different course. And this is a fundamentally different course. The risk, of course, is the status quo. The risk is that we keep doing things the way that we've always done them, with significant capital spending that is forthcoming in our city, as is the case in any major city. Let's put the policies in place through community benefits agreements that ensure that everyone will share in that prosperity. Hey, the jobs need to get done. Let's ensure that everyone is a part, and in particular our young people who are currently making it very clear that they're feeling pushed out of this city. Let's make sure that our young people have a place in the future of this city and that it's an affordable place where they too can raise their families. That's what's been the dream of this city. It's what this city has historically been known for, and it is currently slipping away. That's what the data and the evidence of studies like the work by David Helczynski, Dr. David Helczynski show us. Let's stop that in our tracks. What does it take to do it? It takes leadership. It's a choice. It's a choice to say that prosperity will be for everyone in this city. It's a choice to say that prosperity will be shared in this city. We need to put a stake in the ground and say, no way, we're doing things differently moving forward because we have a vision of a city where everyone has a home, where everyone has a place, where everyone has access to a good job. That's what this is about, and this is how we will achieve it. And it takes a mayor who believes in this, who's committed to this to make it happen. There have been a few pilot projects, Jeff, including the Eglinton Crosstown is a good example that was led by Premier Wynn's government and by Metrolinx, but this has not been a priority of the city and has not been advanced by the city. It has not been advanced by our mayor, which is why I see an opportunity here for a mayor to commit to creating local jobs through the infrastructure spending that the city is doing. In Rexdale, which I referenced in my comments, the community has spent 10 years fighting with the city in order to get community benefits agreements as part of the redevelopment of the Woodbine Casino. I just think that's absurd. Why should residents in the city have to fight with the city to participate in a city investment? And that's why I am introducing a mandatory policy whereby the city will take the leadership in ensuring that prosperity is shared, in ensuring that there are community benefits agreements. So to answer your, it's a private sector investment. And no, I've announced both today. And partnering, so there's two components to this. The one part is ensuring that all city investments are covered by a community benefits agreement so that local communities can share in the prosperity of that investment. Hey, it's the city's tax dollars that are being spent. Why shouldn't the local communities that live here benefit from those tax dollars? That's the first part. The second part is making it a requirement through the development approvals process that private investment in this city also has community benefits agreements to create local jobs, so that when the billions of dollars are being spent on building private sector jobs in our city, that we will ensure local communities are sharing in that investment. And again, this is no different from how it's done in LA, it's no different how it's done in Boston, and we are 10 years behind. We have this big building boom, and yet local communities are not sharing in that prosperity through the local job creation, and we can create thousands and thousands of local jobs in this city by making this a requirement and revisions to the development approvals process. Yes. Yes, and it will need to be negotiated through, sometimes there'll be large projects will make sense, but there might also be smaller projects. We have a willing developer and a willing partner where we can sit down at the table and make this happen. Just like with inclusionary zoning, before it was regulatory, and I pushed very hard on inclusionary zoning to include affordable housing as a part of every development application. But before we had that policy in place, we sat down and negotiated that with developers. When you put the policy in place, it empowers city staff to advance this as a priority and to make it a requirement in every project of the city. That is transformative. That will transform access to local jobs in our cities for youth and for underemployed groups who need those jobs the most. And right now, community groups have been fighting and fighting to get this done. Why isn't the city taking the lead? Well, with a mayor who believes in creating local jobs and using the prosperity we have to create local jobs for young people and the people who need it most in our city, we can get this done, and we can do it immediately. We don't need it to be a big, long, drawn-out fight. We just need leadership to get it done. It's an absolute priority that the city take a leadership role in ensuring that the members that have been displaced as a result of these terrible events have access to housing. It's an absolute priority for the city to take a leadership role in doing so.
How'd the debate go last night?
Well, the debate was fabulous last night. It was an important conversation about anti-Black racism in our city, an essential conversation and something that all Torontonians need to be talking about more. It was an opportunity to talk about the fact that there's so much more that we can be doing that we haven't been doing around delivering affordable housing in every neighborhood of our city. You know, there's this idea out there that we can't do more. And I have to say, I just don't buy that. There's so much more that we can do. And it takes leadership to deliver affordable housing. It takes leadership to deliver a transit network plan with excellent transit in every single corner of our city. Whether that is LRT, whether that is subways, whether it's an enhanced bus network, it takes leadership to get that done. And the only way that we will ensure that people have access to excellent jobs and access to education in this city is by ensuring that we're providing things like community benefits agreements so that prosperity is shared, but also that we have excellent transit in every single neighborhood in this city. The time for drawing up plans that are a mirage, like Smart Track on the back of a napkin, are over. It's time for a real transit plan in this city, and I was thrilled to hear such a warm reception to the importance of doing so last night at the Black Community Leaders Municipal Debate. Thank you so much.